Welcome to The Art of Violence. Today what we're going to be breaking down is some of Logan Paul's most recent boxing footage. We're going to be looking at his technique, his form, how he reacts, how he looks as a boxer overall. We're going to be comparing that maybe to some of his older boxing footage that was filmed 6 months to a year ago. We're going to see if there's any improvement, see if his chances of beating Floyd have gone from 0.2% maybe to 0.4%. But I doubt it. However, we're going to give him the benefit of the doubt anyway and see what he's working with. So let's get into it.
People just underestimate the amount of work we put into this sport, like the amount of actual hours and dedication, what we put our body and minds through to make this happen. For the past 3 years, like, we actually got good at this shit. And I think that's Floyd's biggest mistake and my biggest advantage going into this fight. Floyd really underestimates me, man. We got fucking dangerous at this sport. You do anything for 3 years, you're gonna become good at it. I just outwork motherfuckers, and that's my secret. That's Jake's secret too, man. Everyone's so mad that we're winning. Fucking do something about it.
Dangerous compared to who? Because what I just saw from that clip, I'm not so convinced. So let's go ahead and break some of this down. Those were big words from Logan, followed by very poor, shitty technique, to say the least, honestly. Let's go ahead and break some of this down. We see Logan here throwing these like pseudo uppercut hooks on the bag that just look absolutely atrocious and unrealistic and honestly just weird. There's not a whole lot of like hip engagement. They're literally almost like these weird arm punches that don't make any sense, that have terrible form, don't have a lot of power, and are very conspicuous and noticeable. And the interesting thing is I've seen him do this ever since he started training in boxing, and this is something that's, I'm sure, is inspired from his coach Milton. It's just very suspicious and weird that he's doing this in the first place and that he thinks this is a legit technique and he can like throw these sort of punches, on the bag and in a fight, and that it's going to go well for him. It just shows you how misinformed he is and how misguided he is being. And how, misguided he is, the fact that he thinks this is like legit or this is something that he can train. And then here we see Logan doing a bit of pad work, throwing, some really wide, looping, conspicuous hooks, kind of similar to the ones he was throwing on the bag, even throwing a right hand and then dropping it and bringing it back to, about where his stomach is. With his, chin straight in the air, just exposed, staying inside the pocket with, not really much head movement and not any protection, not bringing his hands back at all. It's just very strange and very weird. And, if he really thinks he has a shot at Floyd doing these types of things, the kid's fooling himself pretty hard. And whoever is telling him that this is good boxing and that this is gonna get him to high levels in boxing is honestly lying to him. So let's go ahead and look at the next clip. All right, so we got Logan doing a little bit of bag work here. He's doing just kind of the 1-2 touches and then the power hooks to the bag. The little touches he's doing don't look bad, but he stands really tall and his jaw is like always out, and this is going to leave him susceptible when he fights a boxer like Floyd, having his his chin out like that and just standing really tall. It's going to leave him susceptible to the body unless you've got a stellar defense or stellar footwork and you're able to either get out of the way or block, or you have like a real defensive strategy. You're gonna get hit, and Logan does not have a real solid defensive strategy and does not have stellar footwork from what I've seen at all. So this is going to leave him really susceptible. Now, when he throws the hook here, we see he drops his arm all the way down and then throws it. I talk about a telegraph and a half. Floyd's going to be able to see this coming from a mile away. So, this is honestly just looks like a result of bad coaching. To drop your hand that low and then to throw the hook, it's like, it's so obvious what you're doing. Someone's going to be able to, an amateur boxer is going to be able to see that coming. So, it's just kind of looks like a bit of bad fundamentals here. All right, now I have to say this is probably the best I've seen from Logan out of this whole clip, these hooks he's throwing. He actually has his right hand up and he's throwing with decent form. I will say, though, he's standing so tall and there's not a whole lot of hip drive. A lot of the power comes from, especially like on the big power punches, a lot of the power comes to the rotation of the hips. And when you're standing this tall like this and you're kind of like just putting your arm back, behind your body and then throwing it kind of almost like an arm punch, it's like there's not a whole lot of hip behind that, though. There's not a whole lot of body behind that. And it's really just going to kind of limit your power. And that's what we've seen. The Logan's best thing is his right hand. And other than that, usually when he throws hooks, they're kind of almost slapping hooks, as we've seen in some of his sparring and stuff like that. If he wants to get power behind those, he needs to bend down a little bit and really put his hip and his body into those shots. And I mean, he really needs to tuck his chin as well. I mean, he's gonna get clipped having it out like that. I wouldn't be surprised if, Floyd knocks him out cold if he's gonna have his chin out like that. So it'll be interesting to see. This is probably the most impressive thing I've seen out of him this whole clip. But let's go ahead and see. Are these new bad habits, or is this something that Logan Paul has been doing for a while? This kind of hands down, chin wide up in the air, standing super tall, telegraphing all your punches, not bringing your hands back, letting them drop after you throw. Let's look at some of his older footage and we'll compare and we'll see if this is something he's been doing or if this is kind of a new habit that he's developed. All right, now I will say he does look a little bit better in this video that was filmed about 3 to 6, 7 months ago. But if we slow it down, we can see he's still doing the same things. He's telegraphing his right hand. He's keeping his hands down. The hand he punches with comes straight back down. It doesn't come up to his face, right? He's standing very tall with his chin out, right? He's cocking his hands back before he throws them. Right, whatever hand he punches with, it almost always comes down. It just drops. This is a bad habit he's got. I mean, he's new to boxing. He's fresh in boxing. He's already got really, really bad habits. This, I promise you, is a result of bad coaching and having coaches that aren't on him about good fundamentals. And what do we have here? The same exact drill we saw in the beginning of the video. Throwing these punches that have a form, no hip behind them, they're telegraphed, they drop down by the hip, they swing back, the eye can pick up on it much, much more easily. It's just wrong on like every level. This contributes to him having wide punches in sparring and to him cocking back his wrists before he throws and to him dropping his hands. How you do anything is how you do everything. How you train is how you're gonna eat. So, I mean, this is just bad. This is really, really bad. I mean, the fact that he thinks this is okay, the fact that his coach thinks this is okay is unacceptable, to be honest with you. And because he's newer to boxing, he probably doesn't know any better, right? This is the only coach he's ever really had. He probably thinks this is how you do it. He probably thinks, oh, this is how it's done. I can get away with this because I spar, boxers that have terrible records, that are amateur or really, really bad pros that just fight nobodies and maybe have winning records from fighting nobodies. Maybe he can get away with this on them. Maybe he even beats some of them. But I mean, I can't see him beating anyone who actually knows what they're doing. I can't ever see him beating Floyd. I mean, unless he lands the luckiest punch of his life or unless the fight is fixed. I think this is going to go very badly, and I think quite possibly Floyd could put him away, and I think he could put him away probably within maybe the 5th or 6th round, to be honest with you, maybe even sooner. I mean, with his defense and with his super telegraphed offense, I mean, it's probably not going to go well. It's probably not going to go well for Logan at all. So we'll have to see. Only time will tell, but Logan better get his stuff together, man. I mean, this thing's coming up here pretty quick, so we'll see how it goes for our boy. Anyways, if you enjoyed this content, give it a like. If you want to see more of it, you could always subscribe. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you think about his form. Tell me what you think about his technique. Tell me if you think he has any chance against Floyd Mayweather at all. I'd be curious to know. There's going to be more videos coming in the future. He recently sparred the Gronkowski brothers, and I'm going to be breaking down that video in the next couple videos here, so you guys can check that out, and we'll see if Logan has progressed or not. This is The Art of Violence, and until next time.